Okay, this is lesson 3.7, unit 3, lesson 7, comparing and ordering fractions with our journal, pages 86 through 87. Here's our math message.
Math message. Which fraction is smaller, 3/8 or 1/5? Or are they equivalent? Record your answer using one of the symbols is greater than, is equal to, or is less than. Be prepared to justify your conclusion.
Okay, so I would like you to work on this on your whiteboard or with your fraction circles. Draw yourself a picture. Which is smaller, 3/8 or 1/5? Or are they equivalent? Okay, I have in front of us, well, I have all our fraction circles out, but I have in front of me I have my eighth pieces. So remember the denominator, the numerator is the top, the denominator is the bottom, and D, North Dakota. Okay. Anyways, so we need 3 of our eighth pieces and 1 of our fifth pieces. We're gonna see which one's bigger it asked which is smaller. Okay, so I'm proving right now that 3/8 is larger than 1/5. But let's say you don't wanna draw all of this out. So 1/5 is smaller. So let's say you don't want to draw all of this out. You don't want to have to take the time to lay out all your fraction circles. How can we do it in an easier way? Well, we can use our cheat code, as I've said in class, to help us. So we could take 3/8 and we could take 1/5. And let's think, what is the first um what is the first common denominator that they both have in common? So for example, 5 times 4 is 20, is 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, so 20 is not in common. Sometimes it's just easier to times it by the other number. So let's just try 8 times 5. So whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. That's our cheat code. So 3 times 5 is 15. 8 times 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay, 40. And then since we times that by 5, we'll times this by 8. So we both get 40 for our denominator and our cheat code times 8 times 8. So 1 times 8 is 8. 5 times 8 is 40. So really 3/8 is 15/40, whereas 1/5 is only 8/40. So that would help us know that 1/5 is less than 3/8. Isn't that kind of nice? You can do it without having to worry about fraction circles or making sure your drawings are just right. So we're going to continue on that. Looking at this here on page 86 in our math journals. So please open up to page 86 and we will continue on this journey together. Okay, lucky for us, on page 86, our first one, they all have the denominator of 10. We don't have to figure out a denominator that they all have in common. So that's awesome. So we already know that 1/10 is going to be at the beginning. If I actually looked at page 87, it's a number line for the exact same thing. So we're just going to work across our pages like this. So we've got 1/10, then it shows 2/10. After that, Well, we know this is the halfway mark, so they always like to give us a halfway as a benchmark number. So I'm just going to write 5/10, even though they don't tell us to find it. But when I look back at the fractions that I need to find and put in order, it said 4/10, it said 7/10, 8/10, 2/10, and 1/10. So they've already done the 1/10 for us. I'm going to cross that off. They've done 2/10 for us. So now we just need to put in there 4/10. So if I did this, this would probably be 3/10. And so here would be 4/10, 5/10. And now we need to divide this out by fives. Okay, it's not perfect, but after 5 comes 6, then 7, then 8. Oops, 7. 7/10 is 1. Then 8/10. And that's all we needed. So we've got 4, 7, 10, 7/10, and 8/10. So now all I need to do is copy on my other side, my other page, so I have everything. Unfortunately, my camera isn't large enough or isn't high enough, so I'll just have to look over on this side and fill her in. So smallest is 1/10, then we've got 2/10, 4/10, 7/10, 8/10 is the largest. Okay, your turn to finish copying in your charts for number 1. Pause the video as you need. Okay, next we are on to number 2. I will tell you a tip right off the bat. Would you rather have a cookie divided into 100 pieces or just into 2 pieces? Well, let me show you, for example, 1/2 of our fraction circles is this big. Okay, but when we look at our fraction pieces, 1/12 is this. So that would be like a little tiny sliver. I would rather have 1/2 personally. So just because the denominator is a big number, that actually means the size is the teeny tiniest. Okay? They all have the numerator of 1. So what we can do is we know that 1/2 is going to be the largest because all the numerators are the same. So 1/2 is the largest. Okay? So what is the next smallest number? Well, it's a fourth. So that's going to be our next largest. I have a fourth piece right here, and I have a fifth piece right here. Which is larger? The fourth, which is the yellow, or the fifth piece, which is green? The fourth piece is larger. 1/4. So now we go 1/5. Then we go 1/12. We're getting smaller, that light green piece. And then finally 1/100th. Okay, so how on earth are we going to figure out how to put these on our number line? Well, let's start with the easiest, 1/2. Right down the middle. Half of 100 is 50, so I'll just do that, 50 100ths. A full would be 100 100ths. Okay, do I want to take the time to draw all those eensy weensy little bit of lines? No, I don't. So how can I make a fourth? Well, I'll take the half and divide that because half of, sorry, a half of a half is a fourth. 2 halves equals or 2/4 equals 1/2. So I'll put that there, 1/4. Since this is getting smaller, that would tell us 1/5 would be less. We're just kind of getting smaller and smaller. 1/12. And then 1/100th is probably right close, hugging up on that 0. Okay. So now we've found out that we know about the numerators. When all the denominators are the same, we just go in order. Now we've also learned that just because the number on the bottom, the denominator is bigger, it doesn't mean that the piece is bigger. It means that it's actually way, way smaller. So now we're going to use what I taught you before on our trick with our math message about common denominators to figure out how we can make these all the same, because we've got 3/10, 45 100ths, 90 100ths, 6/10, and 5 100ths. Okay, so it looks like the common denominator that we want is 100. So I need to figure out what 3/10 would be to get that common denominator of 100. So I know from multiplying with my cheat code that 10 times 10 gives me 100. So using my cheat code, whatever we times the bottom by, we times the top by. Whatever we times the top by, we times the bottom by. So 3 times 10, then that gives us 30. So in my workbook on number 4, I'm just going to add zeros to the 3 and the bottom. Okay, so same thing. I know 10 times 10 is 100. 6 times 10 is 60. How about this one? Oh, that one's already 5 over 100. So we are ready to rock. So now let's think about this. Let's chart it out, shall we? So on our number line, halfway to 100, because that's our denominator, 100 100ths, is 50 100ths. Okay, I'm just going to write it out. So I'm going to try to make 10 lines as best as I can. I'm using pencil because we always do math in pencil. So the first thing we need, we've got 30 45ths. So I'm going to bring it over, count by tens, 10, 20, 30. 30 100ths. Our next one is 45. Well, this is 45, 40. So 45 would be halfway between 40 and 50. Sometimes we run out of room on the bottom, so I'm just going to write this on top. 45 100ths. Please pause the video as you need to so you can fill in your charts. After 45 100ths, then it says 90. So I did my 10 lines. I know, right? 10 before 100 is 90. 90 100ths. Then we've got 60 100ths. Again, if that's too small and too close, you can always write on top. And the last one is 5 100ths. So I go back to my first 10 here. And I just put a 5. 5 100ths. There we go. So now I could look at my chart and figure out how am I going to fill these in to our answer here. So we start with 5 100ths, that's the smallest. Then we go 30 100ths. Then it's 45, just in numerical order, 100ths. 60 100ths. Or actually you could say 6/10, 3/10, 6/10. And now we've got 90/100. Okay, we're rocking it out. Let's look down here. This one's gonna be tricky. How can we figure this out? So we've got 3/4, we've got 4/5, we've got 1/3, we've got 4/8, and 8/12. Well, are any of these equivalent to 1/2? If you said 4/8, you are right. So right away, we're gonna sneak on over and we're gonna call this 4/8. It doesn't mean that we actually know yet the answer, but that's gonna help us. Okay, so is 1/3, so this is our third pieces, is 1/3 more or less than 1/2? It is less than 1/2. So I'm just gonna make a less than pile right over here. Okay, is 3/4 now more or less than 1/2? That's more. So I'm going to turn that into a pile. So we're just kind of eliminating some things before we actually get into it. Okay, and then 8/12. Well, I know half of 12 is 6. Okay, so that's going to be more than 1/2. So really, and same with 5, half of 5 is 2.5. So we already know that 1/3 is going to be first. And that 4/5 will be next. Oopsies, not 4/5. Sorry. That's why we do things in pencil, right? So 4/8 is next. Okay, so now we've just got 3 to figure out. Okay, so let's fill in our table here, our chart. So 1/3, I tried to think, okay, where is my third gonna be if I were to divide this and divide this? And that's probably about where like 2/3 would be. So it's okay. There aren't any others near you. So you can just kind of halfway between 1/3 and 4/8 and just write a line and do 1/3. Get that out of the way, right? Okay, so now I'm going to take my fraction pieces to help me figure out what comes next. Okay, so we've got 3/4 here, 3 out of 4. Our next one is going to be 4/5. Bringing on those on over. So we'll put them on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually hangs over the edge. I don't know if you can see that, but it's about this much over the edge. So that tells me 4/5 is more than 3/4. I'm just going to write myself a little note on the corner. More than 3/4. Okay, now I am choosing our 12th pieces. Okay, it took a little bit of time to put all these together, so I just paused the video. So I've got the 4/5 on the bottom, and I've got 8/12 because I'm trying to decide which is bigger, 8/12 or 4/5. And clearly it's showing me that 4/5 is bigger. So now I want to see if 4/5 is bigger than 3/4 and it's bigger than 8/12. So that tells me that 4/5 is our largest. So now we have to figure out, I'm going to keep my 8/12 there because that's a lot of them. It's harder to move those. So I'm popping this up right here. That's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Okay, I'm going to show you a side angle. That tells us that 8/12 is the smallest of those three options. So 8/12 is going to go in here. And then next, right in the middle is our yellow 3/4. So we can plop those on the number line. So we know fourths goes in between. If we divided the half in half, that would be fourths. So that would be now our 3/4. So 8/12 is somewhere in the middle around here. And 4/5 is going to be larger. So this is how we do our number line: 1/3, 4/8, 8/12, 3/4, and 4/5. There's a lot going on in this lesson today. Okay, next, number 5. Okay, do we see anything that stands out to us? I'll tell you something that stands out to me. I see one fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, so that tells me it's more than 1. Do we see any of those? 3/2 is more than 1. 120 100ths. Okay, we'll take care of those two next. First of all, we're going to find a common denominator for all three of these. Okay, so I'm going to work on the table below. I love our whiteboard tables that we have. It just makes things so nice. Okay, so we're going to try 4/6. We're going to try 5/10 and 3/5. Okay, wow, let's think. 6, 10, and 5. Is there any denominator that they might have in common? Well, we could go as high as 60 as we wanted to, if we wanted to, but I know that 5 times 6 is 30 and 10 times 3 is 30. So we can use 30 for all of our denominators and find from there our order. So what times 5 gave us 30? Well, 6 did, using our cheat code. What times 3 gave us, 6 times 3 gives us 18, or 10 times 3 now for our 30 denominator. So what's 5 times 3? 15. 6 times what is 30? Times 5. 4 times 5 is 30. 4 times 5, or 4 times 5, sorry, using our cheat code is 20. So what's going to be the smallest fraction? I'll kind of put a line there because I know all of our numbers are running together. So what's the smallest? 15, 20, or 18? 15/30 is the smallest. So that's going to be 5/10. I'll throw that up here on our number as the smallest, 5/10. I'm going to cross her off. Next, what's smaller, 18 or 20? 18, so 3/5 will be our next fraction. What's left over? 4/6 or 20/30ths. Okay, now it's time to put these on the number line. Here we go. Okay, what's half of 0 and 2? 1. So this time it's not a half in the middle, it's the whole number 1. I already know that we're going to need something to be 5/10, and 5/10 is the same as 1/2. So I'm just going to make a half mark halfway. So I'm going to call that 5/10. After 5/10 was 3/5. After 3/5 was our 4/6. Okay, so now we have 2 that are left. 3/2 and 120 100ths. So we will do the same thing we did before, finding the same denominator. Well, I know 2 can go into 100, so 3/2 equals something 100. And then the other one is just 120 100ths. So that's easy. We don't have to change that at all. So we'll leave that. Okay, so 2 times what is 100? Well, how many quarters gives us, whoops, sorry, no, we can't do quarters. Excuse me. 50 times 2 is 100, so times 50 times 50. Well, if I think we do our friendly numbers, 3 times 5 is 15. How many zeros? 1 0. So what's bigger, 150 or 120? 150 is bigger, so that is our largest. So 3/2 is our largest. So I'm going to come up here. Half of that would be 3/2. Okay, and since 120 100ths is smaller than that, I'll just put that right around here. And now I can copy my answers from here back over there. So 120 100ths and 3/2. So now it's your turn. You get to choose 5 fractions or mixed number. You can write them in order from smallest to largest, and then you jump on over to number 6 and you plot them out. So if you want to do some that are bigger than 1, you could do whole number 1 down here and go all the way up to 2. Up to you. Good luck and have fun.